Hello and welcome. I'm John Pappas with the Financial Accounting Foundation, or FAF. Today, I'm speaking with Todd Cranford. Todd is our head of Government Affairs and External Relations. His role is to manage our organization's relationships with government officials and other key stakeholders of the FAF, the FASB, and the GASB. Thanks for joining us, Todd.
John, thank you for having me.
What made you first interested in joining the FAF's Washington, D.C. office?
Well, I've been familiar with FAF for over 20 years. I've been working in the financial services space for about that period of time and was well familiar with the good work that they do. And when I learned of the opportunity to come over and head up the Washington, D.C. office and be able to take a very proactive lead role in the policy formation and implementation for the organization, I thought it'd be a good opportunity professionally for me. And I thought, quite frankly, that the skills that I've developed over the past 21 years would be very useful and helpful to the organizations.
So Todd, tell me why it's important to establish relationships with government officials and other key stakeholders, as well as how it affects our standard setting of the FASB and the GASB.
It's important for the FASB and the GASB to have these relationships with stakeholders, policymakers, and regulators because they have an impact on what we do and how we do it. We value their input and we take everything into consideration when trying to develop the standards because it's important that the standards be fair, neutral, and have no disproportionate impact on any one group. But it's also equally important that the stakeholders feel that they have had a role in developing these standards. Additionally, it's important that our policymakers and the stakeholders understand that the FASB and GASB assess the cost of every standard relative to the benefit that we think that it's going to provide. High-quality accounting standards leads to greater transparency about the economics of a given company or organization, which in turn leads to better decisions that people and organizations are able to make about the allocation of their capital, which in turn leads to increased confidence in our capital markets.
So Todd, how do your experiences on the Hill and with the SEC help you prepare for your current role?
Well, I've been very, very fortunate to have a number of great professional experiences, particularly since coming to Washington. I've gotten a chance to see how our capital markets operate from the regulator's perspective, from the policymaker's perspective, and from the private sector, what the impact on companies is actually going to be. And it's been interesting that working on the House Financial Services Committee or as an enforcement attorney at the SEC, I've gained, I think, a very good understanding and appreciation for some of the intricacies of policy and not only how to develop policy, but how it will impact companies on a day-to-day basis. And it's this combination of skills that I hope to bring to bear in my new position.
So Todd, what are your top priorities for the coming year?
Initially, my priorities are to ensure that FASB and GASB continues to do the outreach to the policymakers and the stakeholders that I identified earlier. It's important that policymakers and our stakeholders understand that it is vitally important that the independent standard-setting process that FASB and GASB undertake be maintained, because it's through this process that the high-quality standards are able to be adopted.
What's one thing you would like to achieve in your new role?
At the end of the day, I want to position the FASB and the GASB as a trusted and reliable resource on all accounting standard-setting issues for all of our stakeholders, policymakers, and regulators.